Hey y'all, welcome back to Living with SPA. This is episode number 2. We are going to call this episode SPA Tea Time. As you can see, I have my tea in my hand. I am a major tea drinker. Um, During the tea times, if you're wanting to go get your own tea so you can listen, that is more than welcome. How do you make your tea though? That's one of my questions. I sometimes put 2 bags in mine just to mix up the flavors. I don't know if that's weird or not, but I like to mix mine up a little bit. I do add honey. I do not like sugar in my tea, but for the most part, it's honey and whatever flavors I feel for that day. So let me know how you make your tea. Um, I hope you guys are having a great week so far. Today is Wednesday, I believe, August 22nd. Well, yeah, it's still that time. Still that time. For some reason, I've been staying up late, trying to get studying in, and also trying to be more consistent with getting myself prepared for the video. So I don't know if this is the times that that God has given me to make the videos, but lately here I haven't been able to sleep. Been going to bed like 12 o'clock or something like that. So I don't know what's up with that, but I'm fine with it as long as it gets done, right? So today we are going to talk about how it all got started with JJ from the last video. I think I let y'all know that he was diagnosed with some things, but I don't think I went full into detail of what that was. So that's kind of what I'm going to give you today. But I'm going to start off from when I did get pregnant, like what age I got pregnant. So let me make sure. Let me try to think back now. It was a long time ago. I got pregnant at 15. Of course, I was in the, I was in the 10th grade. I got pregnant when I was 15. I had JJ when I just turned 16. But during my pregnancy, I didn't have any issues. The pregnancy went as it should have up until I believe I was 6 months. I think I was 6 months when I found out that JJ had a heart murmur. For those of you who don't know what a heart murmur is, it is a hole in the heart, or your chambers don't pump at the same time. They're disconnected. One of your chambers are disconnected. I found that out. I think I was about 6 months pregnant, and so I then began to see the doctor a lot more, just so they can keep an eye on him, just to make sure that there was nothing else going on. By my 9th month of my pregnancy, the doctors could see that I wasn't dilating. Like I was gonna go past my due date. My due date was December 24th. That's when he was supposed to be born, on Christmas Eve. He was supposed to be born on Christmas Eve, and I didn't dilate any at all. It was like December I think it was on like the 16th or the 17th when I went to the doctor, when they told me that I wasn't dilating. So then they discussed inducing my labor. So for those of you who are wondering if JJ ever had any premature problems or had any other issues when he was born, the answer is no. The only thing he had going on was the heart murmur. At that time, I didn't know what to expect. I was a kid myself, so my mom was with me at the doctor's office, and she kind of gave me a better understanding what inducing my labor was. which some of you already know what that means, is where the doctor goes in and they pretty much bust your water bag for you and to help you go into labor. So that's what I did. I went to the doctor. They said, hey, we're going to induce your labor. And then they told me to come back that night or the night before, the night after, which that was I think I came in the 19th of the morning or the 18th of the night. But JJ, they induced my labor, and I had JJ at like 7:30 p.m. It was about a 30-minute. I was in labor for a few hours until I dilated fully. But as far as him actually being delivered, it only took me 30 minutes. But in that 30-minute time frame, they had a team put together, a nursing team and whomever else that comes in and make sure, cleans the baby's nose out and make sure the baby's breathing all right and stuff like that. They had a whole team set up, and their plan was to take him because they wanted to go ahead and fix his heart. That was the original plan. That was the initial plan. So when I went into labor, they had me stop pushing at a certain time so they can go ahead and get the team and get the bed together so they can take him. But the thing was, he was being taken to a different hospital in order to get it done. I had him at Presbyterian Hospital, and he was taken to Medical City to get his heart fixed. So I don't know if I'm supposed to even be giving y'all that information, but but when they did that, they had me stop pushing. They got the team together. They got the bed together. I don't even think I got to hold him before they took him. So they took him. The doctor finished up what he was doing for me, and then they took me to my room. Mind you, I didn't know what was going on. I was a kid. My mom was there. My brother was there. But my baby wasn't there. Jaquise wasn't there. So as I'm in my room that night, family came to visit. They came to congratulate me and stuff like that. As I'm in my room that night, I didn't get a chance to sleep with him that night. I didn't get a chance to hold him or have that mother-son bonding time after you delivered, because he wasn't even in the building anymore. He was in a whole nother hospital. So I struggled a lot while I was in the hospital, because I was sharing a room with another parent, and all I could hear was the baby crying all night. And the nurse came in there and was like trying to help her out, and I could hear them discussing like the baby was having a hard time latching on because she wanted to breastfeed. And I just felt, I was really upset, because my thing is, number one, I'm trying to get rest. Had a baby at a young age. I'm trying to go to sleep. I'm trying to get some rest. But on top of that, I'm feeling alone because there's nobody here with me. I am in this room by myself without my child. I don't know what's going on with my child. I don't know, the details of what they're doing, if they're going into surgery or not. I don't know what they are doing. So, the maximum days of you staying in the hospital after you have a baby is like 3 days. So I was there for those 3 days. I got out. I went to Medical City to go see him and to check on things, check on things. And I just remember, I think when I got there, I was so concerned with where he was that I wasn't even fully healed yet. So I even like just forgot about the pain that I was in at the moment physically because I was so worried about him. So when I got there, I'm sorry, I'm trying to remember, but it may not be detail for detail because it was a while back, and I believe that certain moments that happened kind of got pushed further back because of the pain of it. So I'm just being honest. But December 25th, he had already been there for a couple days. December 25th, they let me know that my son had an infection in his nose. They swabbed his nose. They did all the blood testing. Um, they did all the all the workups when you get inside of a hospital, and they keep you. So they did the workup. They came back and they said, hey, we're not able to do the procedure right now because JJ has an infection in his nose. And I was like, okay, what is that? So they called it MRSA, resistant staph infection. So let me just give you a description of what that is if you don't know. MRSA infection is caused by a type of staph bacteria that becomes resistant to many of the antibiotics used to treat the ordinary staph infection. So this got in his nose, and from that point, things started to transpire and kind of worsen from there. Before I go into this, I am going to fair warn you that it may be a little difficult for me to give, but I am here for you guys. This is what I'm here for, so I'm going to do my best to give you everything. So from that point, they paused the procedure. They did not work on the procedure at all, so he still had the heart murmur. By the next week, he had the infection in his bloodstream. Once it got into his bloodstream, it started to affect other areas such as his skin, his organs, just everything that you can think of. He began to gain a lot of weight. And at this time, I think he was going into, he was born, I think he was about three or 4 weeks old when it started to worsen. So by that time, they were still trying to give him medication or antibiotics to try to remove whatever was going on within him in order to do his heart surgery. He still had not had his heart surgery because you got to deal with one thing before you can go to the next, right? So he started to gain some weight. He had a lot of fluid on him. He started to get boils all over his skin. And his head swelled up like a balloon, like because of the fluid. So then they end up giving him medication to relieve the fluid. Some of it was coming off, but it was like the more that came off, the more the infection started to take over his body. So he started to get these I don't know what you call it. Some people call it like bed sores or bed some type of bed where it was like if you're laying in the bed for too long for a certain amount of time and it's too long and you're not being flipped or you're not rotating or you're not getting up, you start to get these sores or you start to get these boils on your skin because of sweat or because of just the dirt that builds up and stuff like that. So I will come in every single day. Some nights I would even spend the night there, and I would bathe him, but I wasn't able to hold him. I had to figure out how to wash underneath him without causing him so much pain because he was in a lot of pain. He had a breathing tube in. He had a feeding tube in, I believe, and he had an IV in his arm, an IV in his foot, and he had a PICC line in his stomach, in his belly. So he had all this stuff all over him. So there was no way I could even just pick him up. And if I did, I had to get the nurse to come and assist me. So I skipped a part. When I was at the hospital while he was being transferred, my plan was to breastfeed him. My milk was not accumulating as it was supposed to. I was drinking water. They was telling me to drink water, drink water, drink water. But I believe that without the contact or the skin-to-skin contact with my own son, it didn't really help. So he wasn't getting enough milk, so they started to add things into his milk to feed him because he was hungry, you know. This was before all of this happened, because after that he couldn't really eat because of all the IVs and stuff like that, and the medication that was going in and out. He couldn't really eat. So by the time he became 3 months old, he weighed at least, I think he weighed like 30 pounds at the time, because there was so much fluid on him. Probably, yep, about 30 pounds, I believe, is how much he weighed. And that's not normal for a 3-month-old baby or a 2-month-old baby. He was in there for 3.5 months. So, long story short, I'm going to cut this short because I don't know if... I'm going to cut this short. Long story short, the doctor comes in. Mind you, his father wasn't in the picture, so I was there every day. With the alarms beeping, stuff going off, I'm jumping up every 2 seconds because I'm concerned about what's going on. And so my mom will come up there every once in a while, but I don't think we were even on really, really good terms at the time, because I got pregnant at a young age, so that's a lot to take in as a single parent. So my aunt, I do remember this though, my aunt from Lubbock, Texas, she came from Lubbock, Texas to visit me, and to visit JJ, and to visit me, to make sure, that I had everything that I needed, and, what I needed. And this was the day that the doctor came in, and he was like, "Miss Williams, we need to have a conversation. We should go into the conference room because I want to discuss some things with you." And at this time, I'm like, what's next? I'm ready for my son to get better. I'm ready. Like, I'm hoping it's good news, but you can tell by a person's approach, or a person's, how they start off, how the conversation is going to go. So it wasn't appeasing. It wasn't a joyful moment. I was worried. I was concerned. I was like, what's going on? Because at this time, JJ couldn't even open his eyes because it was so much fluid, and they kept him sedated, because they had to do so much to him at that time. Like, he wasn't even responsive to me. He responded to sound. He responded to the touch. But as far as him making eye contact, it wasn't very often that I saw those brown eyes when he was 3 months old. So we go into the conference room, and the doctor comes in, and he's like, I think there are some decisions that, you have to make. At this point, we have tried everything that we could. We've given him every type of antibiotic that we could think of that could kill this bacteria or kill this infection, but it's not working. It's not working. So now they're telling me like it's nothing else we can do. So they're leaving it up to me to pull the plug or to keep fighting. And my son is a fighter. He went 3 months with having a heart murmur and this infection that was messing with the inside of his body, messing with his bloodstream, messing with everything that was attached to him that he needed to grow, like messing with everything in his body. So I knew that he was a fighter, but I also didn't know how to make that choice because I was 16 years old. You come in here and you tell me that your son only had, at this point, your son has 48 hours to live. And that's what they told me. He only has 48 hours to live. So I'm sorry, there's nothing else we can do. And at that moment, it's like, you know how you hear something and then you hear one thing and everything else that they're saying, you don't hear it at all. But that one part, that's exactly how that moment went. Like I didn't hear anything else but 48 hours to live. And my mind went, like I was so distraught, like I was not in my right mind at all. My aunt was in the room with me, and I love her to death for this because she was there for me at that time. And the doctor walked out. He said, I'm gonna let you have your moment. I'm gonna give you a moment, and then you can let me know what you want to do. And I'm just looking like, how can you come in here and tell me that my son has 48 hours to live? How can you tell me that you have done all that you can when I don't believe you have? How can you expect a 16-year-old to make a decision like that by herself? So I was crying, and I remember being in that room, and it was so small, and the desk was chestnut, and I began to kick things, and I just kind of lost it because I went through all of this time. I loved my baby. I loved the person that was growing on the inside of me, although I felt as if, I was being punished because of me getting pregnant at an early age, or me being fast as a teenager, or all of these things was on my mind. And I was just like, why? I was upset. I was upset with God. I was like, why is this something that you want me to decide? Why is this something that you are allowing to happen? Why is that? So then my aunt begins to say, she calms me down and she says, well, I know that the doctors, they know what they're doing, and that they have been working to get him back to himself. But don't forget that they are not the ones with the last say so. God is the one with the last say so. Excuse me. She said, God is the one with the last say so. So you're going to tell them no. You're going to tell them to keep fighting. You're going to tell them to do more than what they have been doing. And you have nothing else to worry about. We're going to pray over him. And that's it. We're going to give it to God. And me being in that moment, I heard what she was saying, and I was like, yeah. But at the time, my faith wasn't as strong as it is now. Back then, I kind of knew who God was, but I didn't know him. I didn't know him to put all my trust in him at that time. Like in that very moment of somebody telling me that, oh, your child has 48 hours to live, my mind didn't go there. My mind didn't say, oh, let's pray, or, I didn't think of any of that. I was just upset because you're telling me this to my face and you think that I'm just going to say, yeah, go ahead. No. So in that moment, she left me alone. And I remember praying and asking God to help me make this decision, or help the doctors figure out a way to make this better, make this situation better, and bring JJ back to himself and to be healed from what he's dealing with. And I asked him to save my son's life. And I think at that moment, there was nothing else I could do but pray and but put my trust in God, because there was nobody else there for me to depend on. There was nobody else there that could make that decision for me. So they did not pull the plug. But I do remember one thing. I remember after we prayed over him, after that night, the next morning, the first thing I thought about was his PICC line. No, his IV. His IV that was in his arm. And I kept asking, like, how long has this IV been in his arm? And I think one of the nurses were like, oh, that's the same IV he's been having since he got here, or since last month, or something like that. And I looked at her and I was like, don't y'all think y'all should change it? And she says, well, nobody changes it unless it goes bad and it still works. But me being a mother at the time, I say that like I really knew what I was doing. But that's the first thing, and I believe that that was God telling me for them to take the IV out. So I kept bringing it up. I kept talking about it until somebody came in and actually took it out and changed the IV. They changed the IV. They finally took the IV out, and kid you not, the next week, JJ started to get better. He started to lose weight. He started to like kind of whine and kind of squirrel a little bit. He started to, things in his body started to move differently. So in that moment, I was in disbelief. Not disbelief, but I couldn't believe what was going on, because me thinking that my son was about to die like 3 days before, and then turn around, he makes a full turnaround and he is going to live because of my aunt's faith. Because of my aunt's faith, I do believe that carried. Not only her, I don't remember who else was there that was praying over him, but I do think we had some other people or elders from my other church, my old church, come and pray over him. But I think because of her faith, and because she reminded me that God is the all creator and the number one healer, and the person that could that gives the last say so, that turned it around. And with me praying like I did, and actually leaving it there, and actually believing what I said, it turned it around. And it reminds me of the message that my pastor just preached on last Sunday. And he asked, where is your faith? Where is your faith? Do you have enough faith to stand in that moment and not flip out because of the results that you have, and you remember who God is? Where is your faith? So I found a scripture that I wanted to implement. That's all for right now, guys. I'm not able to do any more, because if I do, I'm not going to be able to finish this video. because that almost took me there for a second. Like my whole everything went back, but I guess that's what I'm here for, right? To give you all the truth. The story is to be continued, though. I am going to chime back in on the next video and give y'all the rest of that story, because it's amazing what God can do once you actually trust Him, once you actually put your faith in Him and believe that it can happen. That's the only thing. Like, you can say that you trust Him, you can say that you have faith, but what do you do with that faith and that trust in those moments where you feel the lowest, or in those moments where you feel like you're about to lose everything? Do you flip out? Do you throw things? Do you get upset? Do you take your frustration out on other people? What do you do? What do you do? Because that is a life-changing decision. A life or death matter. What do you do in those moments? Because y'all, I was ready to give up. I was ready to say, okay, I know what I did. I know I was being fast. I know that you are just punishing me or whatever. If you weren't, this wouldn't be happening to my son. You know, I love him. Like, why are you doing this? Instead of me doing that, I should have been on my knees praying, and maybe the turnaround would have been faster than 3 months, 3.5 months, almost 4 months. Maybe the turnaround would have been a lot quicker if I began to get on my knees and pray every single day of the week that he was in the hospital. I didn't do that every day. I just had hope. Yes, hope is tied to your faith, but at the same time, having the faith that God can do it for you is different than just having hope that maybe a situation will change. It's a different level. So here's what I'm going to read to you. James chapter 1. Chapter 1, verse 6. But let him ask in faith with no doubting, for the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea that is driven and tossed by the wind. Verse 7. For that person must not suppose that he will receive anything from the Lord. He is a double-minded man, unstable in all his ways. So having the faith with no doubt in your mind that the situation can change is what gets the Lord to do what you ask. And the word also says, if you do not ask, you do not have because you do not ask. You ask and you shall receive. So where's your faith? That is a question. Where is your faith in the moments of you making life-changing decisions for your child with special abilities, or if you're a caregiver making those choices? Where's your faith for them? Because one thing I say, if someone does not have faith, but you do, and you are there with them in a faithless moment, are you willing to execute your faith in that faithless moment of another person? Because that can go a long way. There comes in mercy and grace for whomever you have the faith for. God can change that. But that's all I have for you guys. To be continued to the next video, to know what else happened after see, I can't even talk about it. After the week changed, after the prayer, the week changed after that prayer. JJ became healthier and stronger, and then we're gonna go on to what moves were taken after that. What was next after him getting healthy and getting that bacteria or that infection out of his bloodstream. I hope you guys are staying safe. We are covering your children that are at school. If you are still sending them to school, I am definitely praying for them. I'm praying for my own. He's I'm keeping you guys in our prayers. Please don't worry so much, but cover them yourselves every morning, every night. Make sure that you listen to the grandma's remedies or your mother's remedies when it comes to if you have COVID. I just became healed from COVID. Hallelujah. I am a survivor, and I'm thankful. I'm blessed, and I am thankful for where I am now. Listen to those home remedies. They work. Thank you, Mama. They work. They work. God definitely send the people and the resources to help get me back on my feet. So if you need anything, don't hesitate to ask the people that care about you, or even just people that you don't think care about you. Check and ask and see. You ask and you shall receive. You guys have a blessed week. I thank you guys for tuning in to this channel. Have a great night.